Welcome to Monday Club.
Yeah, that was the worst intro ever. Well done, Amy.
I always say that. Welcome to Monday Club.
Go on, Amy.
Delicious.
Delicious. Welcome. Well, what you should say is welcome to Casting Couch. No? All right, sweet. Right. Definitely not going to. It's way too much work. I'm really bored of editing. It feels like that's all I've done for like the last week or so. Right, so it's Monday Club. How is everyone? What's been going on?
Lots. I'm all right. Got loads of good news. You would have seen it on my Instagram. Sam already knows this. Finally signed the papers earlier to my new industrial unit / studio.
That's so cool.
Right.
Very nice.
I know, I can't wait. I've been looking at them for ages, trying to find the right one, and some of them was just stupid prices, like 12, 13, 1400 pound a month. And I was like, I'm doing this on a whim, give it a go. And most of it, really, I just want to store stuff because I don't have a garage at home. My office is full of stuff, the shed's full of stuff, the utility room's full of stuff. My other half is on my case constantly because my stuff's everywhere. And then when the guy knocks at the door with a massive like DHL parcel, she just goes, brilliant, where's that going? On the dining room table. Where do you think?
Yeah, I freak out about stuff like that.
Oh,
Amanda does Avon. She's like a boss at Avon, right? But we might get like 12 or 15 boxes arrive at one time.
Yeah.
And then the dining room is then packed full of Avon boxes for about 3 days. So what I did, the understairs cupboard, I converted. I took everything out and I shelved it all out. And I was like, that's where you put your Avon tat.
Oh, I thought that's where you were going to eat your tea.
No, I wouldn't fit in there, bro. And my dinner definitely wouldn't fit in there. What's wrong with that?
That's true.
Don't get back by not eating, fool.
Yes, so the whole reason for it as well is bottom end of it is going to become a studio to film in. So every Monday Adam's at college, I'm going to go down there, spend the whole day filming. I plan to set fire to fuse boards, chuck 100 amps through cable and connectors and socket outlets and see what sets on fire. I spoke to Bosch earlier, Sam.
Yeah.
And to this camera. And they're going to send me a couple of thermal imaging cameras so I can record all the data, temperatures, what heats up to what, and just do it to the best of my ability where I create good content, but equally you learn from it as well.
But what are you going to say to people who are like, Nick, you ain't that technically savvy. There's people out there that can do it better than you.
Rude. Fuck off. That's what I've done. Have you got a unit? Are you making this content? No. So shut up. That's what I say.
Hashtag triggered.
I nearly bit someone the other day. Anyway. So yeah, that's the plan. And then eventually as well, I'm going to create a podcast studio in the corner. And Sam already knows this. I've got a few guests locally.
Where I'll live. Like a troll.
So set a bed up in the corner. Yes, get a few mates on, a few local people. My plumber mates that I work with, like two of my best mates, to come locally to do an actual in-house podcast with a couple of cameras, do it properly instead of on Zoom. Because as good as this is, when you can get a physical cinematic motion of it as well, with switching cameras between the two, I want to aim for that. But whether or not that's till summer next year, I don't know. So it's going to take me a while to set up.
That sounds really exciting, does that, Nick? That sounds absolutely brilliant. We're just getting the separation from your business life and home as well. That was a big thing for me when I first did it. Because I've been in your shoes where your house is full of all your gear. You've got the family nagging at you. So just getting that physical separation from work and your home life, that transformed things for me when I was building up my business. So, good
I just need to make sure I find the ratio of work to studio to home, because I know to start with, no one's going to see me for a while.
This is the thing with my shed, mate. This is the thing with my shed. I love just coming in here and sitting in here. I find a reason to come in here now because it's mine. Yeah. It's my domain. I've got all my stuff in here, all my toys. I've got my internet. I don't have to worry about nothing. I can watch Netflix in here. I can even have a little snooze on my recliner. Bosh, it's no problem. But I do find myself spending an inordinate amount of time in the shed. And if I had a
Sam, stop touching your microphone. Yeah.
Listen, bro.
We're all thinking it.
And if I had a unit, I'd be really. I'd probably move out of home and live in the unit.
You got a roller door, Nick?
Yeah.
Get the van in there as well. Even better.
Yes. Can't wait. I'm just going to fly my drone around constantly in it as well. For no reason. Anyway, Amy, how are you? I was just taking a sip.
Sorry. I'm all right, thanks. I've had a bit of a quiet week, to be honest. I've not been ill, but I've had a bad back, so I had to have a few days off, just resting. What else have I done? I've been to see the people at Skolmore today.
Have you?
Talking about you guys, actually.
Hey.
Mostly me.
Sorry?
Mostly
No, not really.
I know, right? What's that about?
Your name did pop up, but we were talking about Nick and Mark. So yeah, I've got some stuff with them coming out in the new year, I think.
Oh, they're nice people, aren't they?
Really nice people. I had a really good day, to be fair.
Did you meet Plumstead?
Katie.
Yeah, that's who contacted me.
I've got a lot of time for Katie. She's a very nice young lady. But I'm like, Plumstead, I need to talk to you. I just call her Plumstead. I don't call her Katie.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And what about, is it Mike?
No, I think it was Ben and Dave.
Ben. I called him Mike to his face. Yeah, Ben. Not producer. Interviewer.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ben's a nice guy.
Called you Ted Bundy.
Yeah, he called me Ted Bundy ages ago, yeah. And
Probably
then
could do with a can of Red Bull before he does his interviews. Or Monster.
Monster. Delicious.
Delicious.
Yes, that was something different. It was really good, actually. I have to apologise now. Before it comes out, Mark, I look like a right weirdo because I was proper bigging you up. I'm saying I've got a bit of an Insta crush on Mark. He's so clever. He helped me in the week when I was stuck on a job, and yeah, it might come across a bit creepy. So sorry about that.
That's all right. People are usually moaning about me, so I'll take that all day long.
True.
Hopefully they'll cut that out so I don't look too weird. Yeah.
Good. That's cool. It's because it's around the corner from you. Because it's Tamworth, isn't it? So it's not far at all.
That's where I'm originally from. I didn't know that they were based there. So yeah, and I was working in Tamworth today anyway. So I did a little job over there and then spent a few hours at Skolmore. So yeah,
that's cool. Yeah. Sam, can I now, Sam? Are we going to do the tour dash? Because I've got something really cool to show everyone at some point.
Well, maybe. Relax. Just hold on a minute for a second.
Okay, I've got it ready and everything. So I'm just saying.
So what have I done this week? I can't remember. Well, last week was just much of the same. We're still second fixing. I've done some slick boards over the last couple of days. Yeah, nothing really changes with what I'm doing. It's basic stuff, but I really enjoy it. I really enjoy the fact that, you know, I first fixed these flats. Now I'm on the second fix, and mate, it couldn't have been timed any better because you're second fixing right away to Christmas. Then you'll have Christmas off, and you'll come back to second fixing. Do you know what I mean? It's just nice.
There's a lot of satisfaction with finishing second fix, getting the board on, powering up, and looking at it, going, "I did that."
I'm pretty powerful at second fixing as well. It's probably one of the only things I can say I'm powerful at. Like I will smash out a flat.
Your fuse board was neat.
I was going to say your board looked really good. It was really, considering you've not done one for a while, it was really neat.
It's kind of what I do, you know, just naturally be awesome.
Yeah.
Listen, it's not meant to be followed by like a chorus of laughing. You're meant to all be giving me like a standing ovation.
No, it was because Sam sent it to you sent it to our WhatsApp group, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I sent it to you lot first for critical.
I had to check that it wasn't one of my pictures to start with because it was really, really nice. But then they made you shift it over, didn't they?
Yeah. So what happened was fixed it all. And I was all pleased with myself. I thought, right, I've nailed this. Looking around, all pleased with myself, chest out, you know. And then the guy comes round, the site manager, and goes, gets his tape measure out, and I'm thinking, if you don't put that tape measure away, I'm going to smash it. And anyway, he goes, oh, that's got to go over an inch because the door's going to hit it. I did not consider that. I did not consider that. But in the knockouts in the back of the Hager boards, they're like an oval shape. So it was literally just a matter of undoing the screws, moving it over a tad. Yeah, so really not a very technical job. The other good thing about this job that I really like and that keeps me there and keeps me interested in it is once I've done the first floor, which is where we're at now, there's about 10 flats to do on the first floor. I'll be testing those 10 flats. So that's what I'm really excited for. I'm going to be using my TIS tester and just smashing it out. I'm super excited about it. It's all part of my personal development, moving away from being a containment spark. And yeah, it's just fun, man. It's fun. I'm starting to really enjoy being a spark again. Yeah, I am. I'm enjoying being a spark.
Good. It's nice to find the love for it again, especially when you start doing it enough and it becomes simpler, especially with the testing. The more and more you do with it, the easier it becomes. To be fair, I was having a conversation with one of the lads at the wholesaler today, electrician from around my area, a lot older than me, friends with my dad years ago. And he was asking about YouTube work and all sort of stuff, which is
terrible.
To be honest, every time I walk the red carpet, yeah, that's like brilliant. It's always funny every time you say it.
Can I just say something? Your internet cut out then. You got some lag going on.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Oh, you did a minute ago as well. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. So, and he was saying about he's sick of it. He wants to get out of the trade. He's bored of the paperwork and everything. And I just said to him, do you do your stuff on your iPad? And he said, no, we still to go home and write it all out. And I was like, get yourself an iPad, get yourself software. He said, because he uses Napit desktop, but he does it when he gets home. I said, get yourself an iPad, do it on site. Your life will become 50 times easier when you get back. And he said, New Year, he's going to buy a second-hand iPad and give it a go. And he says, if he hates it, it doesn't work, he's going to send me the bill and wrap it around my head.
That's the thing, though. That is the thing. This is an interesting conversation where if you are a painter, for instance, and so say the average, so say you're looking to earn 200 quid a day as a spark, right? On average. I don't know if that's a national average or what, but I look for about two bills a day. Now, if you're a painter and you don't have to do any of that, but you can charge 200 quid a day to do painting, and you don't have to do any paperwork, can't renew any qualifications, do anything, kind of makes you think, is there a wage disparity amongst the trades? Because I feel like, certainly on the jobs I work on, they're all lumped in together. I mean, you can be a dry liner and get paid more than a electrician, and without having to have any deep qualifications, without having to have a CPS registration each year. There's a lot that goes into being a Sparks and doing it right. Is there a wage disparity, and does it need looking into?
Go on, Mark.
Yeah, I think there's two sides of that. On site where you are, Sam, you probably see it more than I would. But yeah, definitely, I think Sparks have a lot of admin and a lot of other bits and pieces that most other trades don't have. So that would certainly warrant an extra bit of money, you would say. It's an age-old argument, isn't it? Going back for a long time of which trade should be the best paid and why. And they all have arguments. Plasterers can say, well, we can't work as long because we're lugging heavy plasterboards around and spreading trowels, getting repetitive strain injury. We have to retire younger, so that's why our hourly rate's higher. Electricians have the argument that it's due to all of our training and test equipment and membership of CPSs, as Sam said. So it's not as clear cut as it might first appear. Certainly in the domestic market, I think the rates disparity is naturally there. Electricians can charge more than painter and decorators and other trades, but it is different out on site. I know exactly where you're coming from with that, Sam.
Nico?
Yeah, I've got to agree. Domestic-wise, because my dad was a painter, so I know exactly what you're saying. He never understood the aspect of going home, certificating it, registered building control, all the public liability we've got to have, like everything to cover ourselves. Like you say, if our buying the tools. The tools itself to fucking thousands. He used to have a really cheap Makita drill, which would most of the time be taking just screws out for curtain hooks or curtain poles to pull down. There was nothing majorly expensive in his van. I think one of the most expensive things was the Makita radio I bought him one Christmas, because the rest is just brushes and bottles of white spirit and tins of paint and dust sheets. But then he used to a lot of money.
Nick, you've got to do something with your internet connection. It is pony. Really bad. You're going to have to log out and log back in, bro.
What's going on?
Log out, log back in.
With that magic wand.
I'll just turn all my Wi-Fi stuff around me. Hang on.
Whilst you're talking about that, let's talk about my hot topic of the week. This isn't the hot topic, but it's something that wound me up today. Painters. What was the question I posed earlier on, Mark, about painters?
Something about painters and hate, wasn't it? I think. I can't remember exactly how you phrased it. I didn't know if you were on about people painting hate over social media, or he was on about actual painters and hating them.
I'm going to look for it now, because I tell you what, painters do my head in massively. They do my head in because. Right, hold on.
Have you been working with a difficult painter this week? Because I don't have that same feeling, Sam, to be honest. No. What about you, Amy?
Oh, not really.
Right. Okay. So I've got a story. Years ago, I was working on a job in Malden, and the painters were there. It was Saturday. It was a Saturday, and what had happened was it was new build flats. High new build flats or whatever, and they had a load of BT cables, and what someone had done is this disgruntled employee had gone and cut all the tags, all the markings off the BT cables, and it's like a big bunch like that loomed into the under the stairs, and they cut all the tags off. So it was our job on the Saturday. I would sit in the cupboards. My mate would go round and he'd put the tester on each room, and I'd find it through the cupboard, mark it up for Monday. So I'm doing that. The cupboard's not built yet; it's just under the stairs. Painter comes along. Now, all right, I had my new tracksuit on, which was a silly move, but I thought this is going to be a clean job. We'll smash it out. I'll be out by 12 o'clock. I've got stuff to do today. Don't worry about it. So I was wearing a tracksuit, and at the time, I wore a lot of tracksuits. Don't judge me. Anyway, so I'm under the stairs doing this thing. Painter comes along. Sorry, mate, we've got to get through there. I was like, oh, all right, mate, give me 1 sec, because I've got to make sure I mark this up properly, and then I'll be out your way for a minute or two. And he goes, no, can't wait, coming through. And he just splashed me with paint all over my new tracksuit. And I was like, and I was very croydon at the time. I was like, bruh, look what you done to my tracksuit, though. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like stepping on your trainers in a club. Don't do that, right? So anyway, I had paint on me, and I was fuming. And he's like, sorry, mate, I've got to get the job done. So if you'll get out of the way, I'll paint over you. So I moved out of the way, walked out, and I walked down the road. I was fuming, and this was back in my hothead days. And there was a shop there. And I was like, oh, that's a paint shop. So I went in there and I bought hot pink enamel paint. And I walked back in and I threw it over him. And I was like, sorry, mate, coming through. And then, yeah, it's not my proudest moment. I look back and I think, what an annoying arsehole I am. But it's so ever since then, I've been like a dog with a postman when it comes to painters. So my question is, and answer in the comments below, painters, labourers with a brush or a trade?
That is going to wind some painters up if we have any listening, for sure. I don't know if they would be or not. You seem to attract these things, Sam. Maybe it could be something to do with you and not so much the painters.
It was probably to do with me. I was probably out of order on some level. But this is what the new podcast is about: growth and finding a new mentality, a new way to deal with problems, rather than just, I don't know, trying to paint over someone. But yeah, painters do my head in. I was in the flat today. Painters come in. You know, I have a bit of a rule. If we've got to work on site, if I'm in the flat, you ain't. So if I'm second fixing, you've got to get out, mate, because actually COVID, social distancing, we've got to wear masks and stuff like that, but I don't have to wear a mask if you ain't in my flat. So can you get out? All huffing and puffing. Oh, we've got work to do as well, you know. You know, like there's 10 other flats to go and ponce about in, but they need to be in my flat right now. Winds me up.
I can understand that. You want your space to work in a COVID-safe way. Getting booted out in another flat. Maybe it's the other thing now. You're far too attractive to these other people. They want to be in and around you all the time. You've changed that much. You're drawing them towards you.
Well, you know, it's often been referred to as a handsome fat man. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it's got to be the case.
Amy, don't pull that face, bruv.
I had an interesting one today with an immersion heater element, something that I've not looked at for years. Everyone else was busy, and there was a call came in from one of our letting agents for an immersion heating element that I wasn't working. And you kind of start racking your brains for the test measurements you need to be taking to check it.
Right.
I could not remember.
Stop. Right. Immersion heater element.
Yeah.
Never. As a spark, I've never had to do it. This is a learning moment for me. Let's go deep on this. So, yeah. Immersion heater element 101 with Marco Fufas.
Yeah, so this one was a 3 kilowatt heating element. And one of the first tests I was always taught to do was to check the resistance between the posts. So you'll have a live and neutral post on the immersion element. And you need to make sure that
in and out.
Yeah, basically. And you need to make sure that you've got a connection through that still, that it hasn't burnt out. So you measure the resistance on there, and usually you want something around sort of 16 to 20 ohms-ish. If you're getting values outside of that, then that would indicate a problem. I mean, you could have a 2 kilowatt element in there, so it's not set in stone that would be the figures you would get, because obviously it's Ohm's law. That's kind of where you're at. And in this case, that's what I did measure, but it's not the only test, because you need to also check for earth leakage as well. So in that case, that's when you start doing your insulation resistance testing, and that's between those posts. So you just put a clip on one of them, because obviously it's a path, it's connected. You've only got 20 ohms resistance in there, and then the other one on the earth post. Do an IR test, and ideally you should be sort of measuring an infinite value. But on some of the old immersion elements that have been in a while, you won't, because they all break down to earth over time. And you might start measuring something in the low 100 mega ohms, even down to 5 mega ohms. And that's what I was getting in this case when I first arrived. That's the problem.
I love it.
If you start measuring under 2 mega ohms, that's when you might start seeing RCDs tripping, and that's for that 1667 ohms on your RCD. So
Stop.
if you are
stop, right. So I'm loving this. This is really good food for my brain. Now, so where do you get these resistances from? How do you go about finding these numbers that you are quoting?
The resistance through the heating element itself is just the 3 kilowatt heating element. So it's Ohm's law. When you use your 230 volts and your 3 kilowatt load, you can work out the resistance of that element, or what you should expect to find based on that. So that's the around 0.20 ohms ish. It's not set in stone. It can vary. Obviously, you really need to use a low resistance ohmmeter to get an accurate reading. If you're using a multimeter, it's never exact. So you've got to factor that in as well. The measurement I was getting was 18.9, so that was totally fine.
And what sort of, so if you want to get around 20 ohms, right? Or 0.20 ohms. What one is that?
20 ohms, sorry. 20
ohms. So if you want to get 20 ohms, what can you allow for either way? 22 or 80?
Yeah, I mean, really, when you're taking that measurement, you'll usually either find that it's in that ballpark or it's infinite, so it's broken down inside, it's burnt out essentially. That wire has cooked its goose, and you're not going to get a measurement. So that's what you're checking, really. Usually you'll find it in that range. If you start to get measurements that are higher, then obviously that resistive path has grown for a reason. It could be that the element's sort of on its last legs, if you like, and it's when it's under load, you might notice that it's cutting out or something, or shorting out to earth as it's in use. But I mean, usually they fail to earth. That's what you will normally find. So you do an insulation resistance test between the earth post and either the live and neutral leg of the element, and check if you're getting a value, hopefully above 100 megohms or so. I will say in my case, when I was getting 5 megohms, it was because it had not been used for a while. They'd actually been using the Economy 7 control panel incorrectly. It's often when you've got tenants in and out of flats, they use them wrong. So they'll start fiddling around with switches and buttons, and the elements aren't even coming on. So they're reporting hot water issues to the letting agent, and it's their own fault.
Can I just tell you something?
Yeah.
With this Economy 7 thing, I lived in a flat that had Economy 7. I never worked it out. I couldn't work it out. Like 1 week, our bill would be so big, and I'd be like, well, I've messed up there. And then I just couldn't work it out. It's so confusing. And I'm an electrician, not the best, but even as an electrician, I still struggle with Economy 7. And I want to smash it. And anyone who has Economy 7, change it immediately.
Yeah, well, those control panels are confusing because it varies between manufacturers as well. But
Yes.
they had actually been using it wrong, and that bottom tank element hadn't been getting used for a number of weeks. And they can naturally, through condensation, or if there is a small crack in the casing, let a little bit of water in, and it will affect your insulation resistance values. So, I mean, a little trick that you can do is to stick it on a 1,000-volt insulation resistance test, and that'll kind of help it dry out a little bit. And if you start to see those insulation resistance values rising, even if it's only a little bit by 2 or 3 megohms, then that kind of tells you there's a bit of moisture in there that you can maybe get rid of. So it's worth powering it up, heating the tank full of water, get it fully operational and in use, and then take that measurement again. And usually,
never knew that.
Yeah, usually you'll find it's risen. I mean, you still want to report that into the letting agent or building owner, occupier, whatever it is, that you know there's a potential problem there, because it's only going to get worse. It will.
Yeah, it's never going to iron itself out, is it?
No, it's not. But you give them that information. It's up to them to decide. Then, I mean, it might last a number of years. It might only last a couple of weeks. Who knows? But in this particular situation, I was racking my own brains trying to remember all this stuff today, because it's not something you end up doing. Certainly in my job now, all the time. And it was a nice learning experience for me again to run through some of those things and rack my own brains and learn that knowledge again.
What was the outcome?
The outcome was that it was reset back up in a proper manner. It actually heated the tank of water, and the insulation resistance value rose enough for it to be okay. And I have made a recommendation to the letting agent to get a plumber out to come and look at it, because this is a pressurized tank. If it was just a normal cylinder, we might have considered changing it ourselves. But when the pressurized ones, you need a plumber. You don't mess around with those things. If they go bang and it goes wrong, it makes a whole mess. So we don't touch them at all. So I recommended a plumber comes and changes the element anyway. But as we left it with the tenant, they've got hot water again now. So we were the heroes for the night. That was all good.
Do you know what? Amy's sitting there like she's like, you know that emoji with love eyes?
I could just listen to Mark all the time. He's so clever. He knows everything.
No, not so.
She's sitting there like with love eyes like that.
I know. I'm just like, oh, Mark, he's so clever.
Oh, at least some people like me.
Mark's going to have a little fan club of groupies that stand outside his house.
Yeah. I got triggered by someone on Twitter yesterday sticking on about all these YouTubers popping up doing van tours and tool reviews. And obviously he's not talking about me because I aren't famous at all. But I was thinking, I just did a van tour video. I just did some tool reviews videos. That is so out of order because I actually quite like doing them.
What was he doing? Slating everyone?
Yeah, just saying he's sick of seeing stuff like that, and it's also fake for bloody...
Well, Neil, was it?
No, it wasn't Neil. It wasn't Neil. I mean, you can hear Neil saying it, but it wasn't Neil.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, definitely. And he wouldn't mind me saying that either. I think what you have at the moment is people are seeing the success of people like old Bunderson over there, and they are looking at it like, oh, I want a slice of that pie. But what they don't realise is it's graft.
It's a lot of effort.
It's a lot of effort, and it like with podcasting, you've got to be passionate about podcasting before you can even make it work. Otherwise, because you require consistency and passion to get it to a point where it starts working. And Nick, I tell you, it's not been an easy road, has it, mate?
No. I nearly tell me if my internet goes out again. I've tried to turn everything off in the background, but no, I only did it to start with on a whim to see if it would go anywhere. And when it got traction, I realized you have to be consistent. Consistency is key for YouTube, or your channel doesn't get pushed. If it doesn't get pushed, you don't get the views. You don't get the views, you don't get the subs, and you just sit where you are. But me trying to do 2 a week now, trying to record 2 the week prior and release them out the following week, and then the next week record 2 more for the following week. And they're constantly, not just only I've got to go to work and do work, but equally I want to record stuff, and then I've got to go home and got to edit it. Then I've got to do a podcast. It's just so much to remember. To make sure you're not fucking up as well in the videos or doing stuff you shouldn't do. Make sure everything is sweet as a nut for everyone, because the people that are going to be watching it are mostly apprentices that you need to be taught the right way, and putting a good example out for everyone. So there's so much to think about. It is a lot of effort, but I really enjoy it. So it makes things a lot easier.
I think that's a common theme running there with you and Mark. Like, Mark, you really enjoy doing the tool reviews. You're passionate about that. You're passionate about doing some new content. I think you took to it like a duck in water. Honestly, mate. Some of your newer content is epic. Like, you're knocking the podcast out of the show, mate. Your podcasts are brilliant, and from what I've heard from feedback of other guests that have been on that hasn't been released, they really appreciate what you're doing. And your channel, it's growing real quick. It's doing some decent numbers for its size already. So I think you should be very proud of it. And this is one of them subjects that, it's not easy doing. It is easy to do content. You could literally, like Nick Bundy could do a video of himself sitting in a van and not talking and still get 2,000 views.
That'd just be from you.
And Mark could do one and they'll all be from Amy. So relax. But it's true though, isn't it? But you had to work to get to that point. It's a strange old thing. And I really enjoy doing podcasts. One thing I've sworn I will never do again, and this is the truth, I will never, ever do a tool review again. My tool reviews are so bad. And
they were really bad. Yeah.
All right, some of my newer ones are not too bad. All right. Now
I remember when I first found out who you were, and I went on your YouTube and I saw your Unilight one in your garage. I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
It was bad. I've left it on there as like a sort of as like a symbol to not do shit. Is Pony. But one of the things is I'm never going to do another one of those tool reviews again. The last one I think I done was Brocket Socket, and then I got sent a laser that I had to review, and I'll be honest, I was looking at it and I was like, this is just the most basic bitch laser I've ever used, and it was like £100 and it come with a tripod. I swear to God this is true, the very next day I went to Lidl and there was a Parkside laser with a tripod for 30 quid, and I was like, I guarantee that is just as good as this shitty laser that someone had sent me.
But the thing about the reviews as well, because I'm hoping I'm going to start messaging people, is I don't want to do a tool review as in, oh yeah, it's a screwdriver, just like, oh, it's really good, it's £30, whatever. I want to break shit. Like, I want people to send me like drills and whatnot, and I'm already going to speak to Bosch about this, is send me it, I'll use it, I'll review it, and then we'll see how long it takes to break it. That's what I want to do. Drop test, fire test, freezing test. Why is it? Because how many times have we dropped drills off ladders or scaffolds or stuff like that, or they've got wet, they got in the rain?
Let me tell you this, right? I have got my Makita set. I think it was, 6 or 8 piece set that I bought 5 years ago, and I've dropped it off ladders, scaffolding. I've dropped the whole box one day off a scaffolding, pissing around. Dropped the whole box. I was like, ooh, glad no one's under there. Like, honestly, I have not treated, like, you've seen my drill. Like, when I come to you and you're like, that drill does not sound healthy, but it still works. So unless your videos are going to be 6 years long, relax.
I was going to hit them with hammers and set them on fire.
What are you going to set a hammer on fire for? What's that going to do?
No, I'm going to hit it with a hammer and then set it on fire.
Oh, okay. What about this, though? Right? I come up with this idea ages ago. I really wanted to do it. Can your drill pull a car? And if you've got a unit, what you need to do is make up a rig, that you can put a drill in, and then attach.
Oh, that's what you're saying, yeah.
And then make a drill bit with like a wheel on, and then attach, and then hook it onto a car and see if it pulls it, and see who's got the most powerful, torquey drill.
New drill, Will, surely that massive thing you showed us last week.
Yeah, no, that don't count. I'm talking hand drills to start with. You start from the smallest one, and see who's got the best one, and then if you've got a couple that do it, see who pulls it the fastest. Do you know what I mean?
Or we can just sit you on a trolley and pull Sam. It's even more impressive.
I like that idea. I'd be there just sitting there like a Buddha, like this.
And this drill pull a fat man. Yeah, no, Amy, I used the drill the other day. It was ridiculous. Absolutely. I had to drill one hole. It took 4 seconds. Okay, cool.
So I just a bit of back books.
Yeah, I gave it to Adam and said, "Mate, you hold this a second." You just saw him go, "Yeah, sure." Disappeared. That's like heavy, innit? And he was like, "Batteries are heavy. Never mind the drill."
Listen, can you not come on our podcast and talk about Bosch drills all the time?
Sorry.
Why not? What's wrong with Bosch drills?
DeWalt is the accepted brand for EGTE. Amy?
Yeah.
Are you DeWalt? I can't remember.
100%.
Right, so we outrank both of you.
I've got a case full of Bosch gear. It's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
And Milwaukee and Makita.
Yeah, I've got all this load of stuff, to be fair, but I've always used Bosch.
Slag.
Got into the battery system right at the start, so you kind of stick with the batteries, don't you, once you get going.
Yeah.
Mark, what is the hot topic this week?
We kind of covered it. I was just going to... really, it was the immersion element and the triggering from someone kicking off on Twitter. And I kind of left it with him to go off and make his own content if he didn't like what he saw on YouTube. Let's see your channel with your stuff.
I want to see this. Did you comment on it?
Topic into this now.
Yeah, I did. But anyway.
Yeah, and Mark, I'm going to have a look. What's...
I
okay,
think
I
I
can't say his
actually...
name on here.
Oh, no, I maybe didn't tag you in it. I didn't know something else.
You should tag me in it, and I'll have lovely comments with the man.
Whilst Nick's looking for that, last week I had to phone Marco to ask on the Hager board I'm using to install. It comes with an SPD, and in that SPD it has a fly lead that goes to the earth bar, and next to that fly lead that goes to the earth bar there is another hole and a screw terminal where you can fit something else. And I was like, is there something missing from this, Mark? And your answer was...
Not in the way you were using it, no. I mean, you can bring your main earth into there as well. It's kind of linked together. So if you're ever in that position yourself, you measure continuity across that. It's labelled PE and an actual earth symbol. There is continuity across the two. But it's if you were using it in a separate enclosure that you could bring that earth into there and then loop it on out onto the main earth terminals of your consume unit, what you were using.
So I did the same thing with that board. The first time I fitted a board with an SPD, I had the same. I was really confused, and I put a thing on Instagram, and those people.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known because I'd never fitted one before.
Well, single module ones just have the one, don't they? So if you use like Nick uses Fusebox, I think they just have the one earth terminal in because it's just a single module. I know the Wilex ones are like that as well. So I think it's just with the Hager one's been that double module for the Type 2. They put it in there because they had space for it, I guess, and it makes it a little bit easier if you're wiring out in a smaller enclosure, perhaps that's near the meter, separate to the consumer unit. I think that's why it's there.
One of the things about those Hager boards two things, right? I'm going to drop myself in it, but I'm pretty sure my boss don't listen to this. So
maybe make sure before you can proceed.
I'll put
There's 17 boards missing.
That was the old Sam. This is a new Sam. Anyway, I've took pictures of it. I forgot to tell him today. I will be letting you know tomorrow, Lloyd. So I've put the board. I've done the board. It's as sexy as I usually do them. Now I'm awesome at boards. And I put the cover on, and it wouldn't go on properly anyway. So I pushed the SPD back quite hard. And do you know what it did? snapped the top off of the SPD.
Really?
Yeah.
You heavy-handed buffoon.
They're quite hard as well, to be fair.
Yeah, I pushed it.
How on earth did you do that?
And I was pushing it back, and it just went like that. And then I was like, I've got a picture on my phone actually.
Was that a Hager one?
Yeah.
They are not cheap. They are not. They are like over 100. They're over 100 quid each.
God.
Easy.
Smack a fuse box one and you'd be fine. They'll never know.
So I'll show you this.
That's knackered, isn't it?
Oh God, you actually like snapped it in half.
Yeah,
Wow.
but do you know what I've got?
That's the carrier though. You can buy the carrier separate.
There you go. That's a good picture.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I pushed that back and broke it.
So Nick doesn't need any flames or water in his new unit. He just needs Sam. Put it in Sam's hands. Let him use it and see how resistant it is.
Sam, can you just hold this for me and then start a clock watch in the corner? And it's broken. Brilliant. 5 seconds.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, man. I was pushing it, but what had happened was, this is the downside to those Hager boards. Now, they're really easy to work in. I love the cutouts in the back. I love the grommet strip. Putting the grommet strip in, if you do it right, it stays in perfectly. I don't really like them red things that come with it.
No, I've tried them. They're too flimsy.
And they pop out. No matter what you do, they pop out. I like the grommet strip. It's fantastic. And they're quite nice holes. It's all perfectly situated. And you can dress it lovely. My problem is the whatever it is, the casing, the surround, whatever. Mate, that's made out of some wafty metal. Honestly,
I'm trying. Thin.
Is it thin or is it just like really like soft? Because I'm moving the I'm sliding them down the DIN rail by just like pushing it with a screwdriver, and it bent the whole side of the thing out. And I was like, I didn't even really heavy hand it. I was like, that is a beast.
I had that with chint boards a couple of years ago. I fitted a few 3-phase chint boards and they'd been dropped slightly somewhere in the wholesaler, got them to me, and they were literally like someone had ran over it. It was like crumpled the long way down. And I rang him up and said, it's been broken, come get it. He's like, you sure you didn't do it? I was like, with what? Like, you've really damaged this. Come back. And there must have been a pallet of them, and something must have been sat underneath the corner of the pallet, and they were all twisted as they were sat because they were like wrapped together. And this was years ago now, so it might be different, but that's what I like about fuse box boards. It's this a thick board. It's the whole thing of it.
Boards are dare I say it, flimsy. They are flimsy and a little bit brittle.
I think it's where they join the corners, isn't it? It's not like a machined box.
Yeah, it's folded.
It's folded on the corners. So especially if you're trying to set it off the wall, I've seen people who put like couplers for conduit behind just to set it off,
and it's not perfectly flat.
Yeah, if you don't get it quite right, it'll warp and it can pull the sides apart. I've seen that happen before. Even in 3-phase boards, you get it though. I mean, those Schneider boards are insane. They're fantastic. But for me, the casing and metal on them is a bit thin and flimsy. So you can't beat Eaton for the quality of the actual boxes. That's top
people
stuff.
Swear by Eaton.
Yeah, it's top money as well, but for a reason, because you're getting that material in there, I guess. I think a lot of manufacturers have been trimming down on what they can get away with for years to try and nip those prices away, because it's a really competitive market, isn't it? And, now we're maybe seeing the limits of where the quality can go.
I've got a question that I need answering. Why? So I've kind of got an answer to it that I've sort of used very loosely, and that is why do we have to use Torx screwdrivers now? Give me the definitive answer.
Manufacturer's instructions.
No. Why does it manufacture? Because there's a bit of a conspiracy theory around it. And they're like, oh, it's because they use cheap parts. So if they give you the Torx setting to those cheap parts, you won't over tighten it and do the thread or something like that. Yes, I don't quite believe that.
There's two ways to look at it. Obviously, you've got Torx setting for the cable you put it in. So I personally, if it's multi-strand or solid core cables, it needs to be altered differently. Equally, I think it should be written differently if you've got 2 or more cables in a certain MCB or RCBO. then again, it should be different if it's a screw flat or it's a bridge connection. It should be different as well. But most of the time, it's all duplicated what it is. But obviously, for termination of torque setting for the strength of the cable, so it's not moving, it's not vibrating and then creating heat and causing a fire. But then if you over tighten it, which I've seen loads of people do with impact drivers, you end up damaging the thread, which then pulls it too tight, which can then damage the cable more, create vibration if it pushes the cable up to the side, not in the correct place it's meant to be in. And then on top of it as well, you can physically damage the breaker by over tightening it and twisting it out of place, which then creates gaps, vibration, fire.
Go on, Nick.
That's bang on the money. Couldn't have said that better myself.
I'm just reading off the screen here.
Now there's so today I was finishing off on a board today, and I put in the buzz bar.
You were finishing off on a board?
Yes, I was. I quite fancy boards, you see. And anyway, I was putting in the buzz bar on these particular Hager boards today, and I was tightening them up, and I could have kept tightening them. You know, when you're like, I sort of got, you get that feel, don't you? So you tighten it, and you're like, that's cinched, and then, but you can still tighten it more, but thought, I shouldn't, but I did a little bit, and I was like, I could keep going. It was just keep going. And and is that cheap copper in terms of the buzz bar, or is it just really good components in the?
Depends what cable you're using. Is it multi-strand? Is it
no? So this is the screw into the buzz bar.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, most of the time I've had that. It's just when the buzz bar, depending if it's a screw one, because you've got Wilex, it's the push through with the screw in the lug. Physically, the buzz bar sits in and the screw sits flat. But then other ones, it's pinching in. And there's so many different types of boards. But equally, going off that, Sam, I want to know why at some point, or what regulation is going to come in where there's torque settings on sockets, on switches, or what's the point in us doing it on a fuse board if there's no torque setting on the cooker wedge or showers? Like, it makes no difference. You're getting the same pull on a cooker ISO and a shower ISO than you would at the MCB. So why haven't we got a torque setting for different isolation switches throughout the property or anywhere? It makes no sense.
That's a really good point. I think that's the first really good point you've ever made. But it's a really good point.
But equally, that's where true. I think the Wago things come in. You know, where they see the Wago or the Ideal clips, whatever, which one you prefer, that GSH or e-fixed on the back of a socket. The fact that it's got
a permanent, here, bro.
Well, either way,
lever connectors is what you say.
Lever connectors.
Don't ever say
I like it the way I look at the camera when I say lever connectors. Anyway, the fact they've got a permanent torque setting, it can't be pulled, all that sort of stuff. Why are they not just manufactured purely in there? And then, you know, some Pratt's not going to come around and stick 4 sockets, cables into a socket. It's limited to 3 and 3 only. So you can in, out, and then a spur.
Yeah, you'd think that
has it not been invented?
You'd think it'd certainly be possible, wouldn't you? If you're seeing it on like downlights and stuff, why not in the back of a socket front? I mean, I don't understand as well. You could easily do it.
Because, like you say, you could limit people to how many cables you could put in or bodge in within certain reasons to it. Because I've come to sockets before and I've had 5 cables going into it. You think, oh, that's safe. Sam.
I think, hey, bro, I've upped my game as of late. I think with the Wago connectors, that's another point actually, because
you mean lever connectors?
How tight do they tighten on the cable, or the lever connectors? How tight do they tighten on the cable? Is that?
I don't know. There's a set preference to it with the springs, but equally I don't know, because we've all done it before. When you put one in, and you think, oh, I'll just twist it out. You know, the push ones.
Yes, I do like the push ones.
Yeah,
I'll be 100% certain when you put them in, because
exactly. But you can get them out by twisting them, and you can reuse it. They say don't. We all do it. Like when I'm first fixing them on a power up, I'll put a few of them on sockets in the wall, put a front over it, pull them off, twist them off. We've all done it. But at time, that's going to become looser and looser, surely. But I don't know. What's the point in us having torque settings for some stuff and not others? It makes no sense.
Well, it makes a mockery of the lever connectors then, doesn't it? Because actually, if you've got a torque setting for sockets and light switches, but then I don't know, use lever connectors on, if you take the feed to the switch and you use lever connectors for the neutral and the earth, That is,
but that is a different torque setting as such, because most of the times we use torque, it's off a press nut, so obviously screw on bolt or whatever compression. This works off a different. Yeah, but it works off a different system. It's a whole lever, so you got more contact in a lever connector than you would do on a screw.
Do you think so, or do you think like the pressure of the lever connector pushing down is the same as the pressure of the screw pushing down?
I don't know, to be fair.
That's what I'm saying. That's a good question. So perhaps that's why they're not using lever connector. Why they don't use lever connectors with sockets and switches, or perhaps that's why they haven't brought out a torque setting for switches and sockets.
I think,
go on. Sorry.
I was going to say with the consumer units, I think that stemmed from the London Fire Brigade. So there was a lot of consumer unit fires in and around London, and they pushed really hard to have something done about that. And, you know, we've all argued this before, but rather than tackling the issue with really the competency of people installing them, the quick fix was to get those fires contained in metal boxes and make sure that the people installing them were using torque drivers as part of the manufacturer's instructions. It was really simple things for industry to do that didn't cost manufacturers any money. That's kind of the conspiracy to all of that.
It makes
wasn't
sense.
there a pushback against the plastic boxes, fuse boards versus metal fuse boards? There isn't really a difference in burn through rate, which I find hard to believe. But
there's been tests on
it
by BEMA, and I think some of the plastic ones are fire retardant, but a lot of the cheaper ones never were. They just kind of melt, disintegrate, and spill out.
They went at the seams, didn't they? The top right seams, where the heat would go. That was the thinnest point. The board physically dropped away, and the flames escaped out the sides.
Yeah.
But then a lot of the time with the original metal boards, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but there was lids open the wrong way to start with.
Yeah, they were.
So the whole purpose. Down. Yeah, the lids would fall down. The MCBs are obviously plastic. They'll set on fire. The fire can go up. So that's where it comes to now, where it's a sealed unit with a closed down lid. Is they don't come with magnets anymore, because people would leave the magnets attached with the lid up, so the flames can still get out. And this is what I understand why I saw people every now and then fit metal boards and they're fitting plastic blanks.
Yeah.
This is another thing. The blanks that come with the boards I'm fitting at the moment, plastic blanks, should they be metal? Should they have, or at least have a metal facade?
Yeah.
Facade, you see.
But this is why another. Go on, sorry, Mark.
The din rail mount ones, you couldn't really be fitting metal ones for obvious reasons without a bit of insulation between the two. But the metal ones that go in the front, I don't see why they can't just supply some of them. It's not the biggest extra expense to chuck in. And some of the plastic ones you can actually flick out with your finger, which obviously is not good. You know, that's not a good.
A lot of them up on EICRs recently. If I can flick it out easy and go in, but if it's a manufactured one for that, like Wilex ones for Wilex ones, okay. But when you see Wilex one in the bloody Proteus board or an MK board, they just fall out.
It's almost like they're in there on a wish. Like, don't breathe on it. Don't breathe on it.
And again, with the lever connectors or whatever we're calling them, I think a lot of the manufacturers stipulate they have to be held in in position, don't they? So if you use
they can't vibrate.
So if you're putting them on the back of a socket, I guess they're worried about maybe when it's pushed back that there might be some movement in it, or it's not held physically in place. I don't know, but you'd think there'd be ways of making something on there that could hold it in a way that was all right.
They'll bring it out and they'll go, every bit back box now has to be 47 mil.
Yeah. Well, you've got the gun to sink them in, haven't you? So we know to call.
That's it, yeah.
So so EGTE as a podcast is very friendly with Ideal. So I can phone up Ideal and get lever connectors sent to me, no problem. And that's not me bragging. That's just a fact. But I found myself, where I'm doing second fixing, we've took the feeds to the switches. I've just found myself using connector blocks, because there's a grid switch in the kitchen, and you can have up to 9 cables going into one connector block. Now, there might be a reg about that. I don't know. Is there a reg about that?
You know about old school connector blocks, the screw terminal ones?
Yeah, normal connector blocks. Now, I could phone up Ideal and they'd send me out whatever I asked them for. But they're not going to have a 9-way connector block, are they?
Yeah, they have a 10-way one.
Do they really?
Yeah. And it's take up to 12, don't they?
Do they really? I did not know that. Is there any sort of reg about taking too many earths to one point?
It's just good working practice, isn't it? So it's making sure that you're not over filling the termination. So you will have an instruction on the manufacturer's data sheet for that product, and you shouldn't be filling it with too many cables. But ultimately, that
comes with.
No, well, there will be somewhere. Obviously, probably not in the packaging, but there will be somewhere.
Online.
Yeah, generally speaking, it's just good workmanship, isn't it? So you have experience of what you can safely connect in a terminal block or point, and that's what you should be doing. That's the basis of the regulations.
That's what the old school people used to do. People still do now. If there's too many cables going into one, we'll know what to do. We'll put some pliers on it. We'll twist it into a big bunch. Then it'll fit. And that's what it was. But I mean, I do it now when I bridge it through. Connect to block, link bridge through, and then connect into each side. Always works well.
That's one way of doing it. What we're using is grid switches, MK grid switch. So what I do is I take the feeds. So there's a feed in, feed out to the grid switch. I take the feeder to the back box, a fly lead from the back box. So you've got 3 in there, out to the grid switch holder. And then I put the rest into a connector block. Just because I don't want 9 cables going into
well, that's what I say. Only just do a 6 and 6 or a 4 and 4. Sorry, 5 and 5, and link them through from one side to the other.
Does not make 9.
It gives you more ways to add further stuff.
Oh, you're
obviously
hard. You're hard.
Yeah.
But listen, I think this has been a really good one. I've really enjoyed talking.
I think Amy's mic's broken. Just let her speak a second. Yeah.
I've got nothing exciting to talk about. I had a really quiet, boring week.
Oh.
Amy, just so you can let our listeners know, next week you are in charge of the show. And it will be your topics. You will be leading it. And you will be leading from the front on next week.
Can I make a suggestion? Can I make a suggestion? Because this, obviously, we record a week in advance. Can we all wear Christmas jumpers next week?
Yes.
I'm on that page, definitely.
I don't, because I'm fat and sweat a lot, as you can see. I wear a Christmas shirt.
As long as it's got Christmas on it, it's all right.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah. As long as it doesn't say Xmas.
No, I've got a new one. She bought it for me the other day. I think she bought it from not Lidl.
Giacomo.
Has it got sexy and I snow it on the front?
Oh.
No, it's just lots of little ones, I think. I'm not sure. I bought it for Christmas dinner. It's a rule. You have to wear Christmas ridiculousness to Christmas dinner. No?
Making Adam wear his elf outfit tomorrow.
I watched your video tonight when you mentioned that right at the end. I'm looking forward to seeing that next one that's coming out.
But the problem is, I recorded that one today. I already have 2 recorded, and I messed it up, and I was about to go live, and I thought, oh, sod it, I'll just let it go. So, no, it's not. There's another 2 more to come out yet. But I thought, hang on, might as well release 3 this week, and then for Christmas, they're going to be more Christmas themed. Sorry, Sam, carry
on. One quick question. Remote control car or radio control car, yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Amy?
You can recreate Home Alone 3. That's a good one.
Amy, what is your problem with remote control cars?
Well, they're for children, aren't they?
There's just a big fat sweaty child above you. That's what it is.
We're an adult and a father.
I love it. I'm very pleased with it. I bought this. Oh, yeah. Look at that, decent. It's on my child's desk in my shed. What do you want to know? Listen, it's been a good one. I've really enjoyed it. We've had some technical conversations. I think it was good.
I think it was good too.
Nice chatting with everybody again.
I've learned a lot. Thanks, everyone.
Amy's writing notes. You can't see her laps.
Yeah.
Right. EGTE. Oh, actually, where can we find everyone?
Everyone, as Amy, you first.
That's Amy the Sparky on Instagram.
On Instagram.
And soon YouTube. Hopefully
That's right.
Yes.
Nice.
I can't wait for that, Amy. Anything you need, you let me know. Nick, let's talk about the new podcast.
Yeah, so I recorded with Mikey from Residual Current the other day. Really great laugh.
Word. Barely said that word. Say it again.
Oh, is it my microphone that bad? My internet?
No,
anyway.
you went.
Oh, Residual Current. Mikey from Residual Current off Instagram. And in 2 days, I am recording with Plumber Parts from YouTube.
Ooh,
so, yeah, he was on the phone to me yesterday. He watched my podcast and loved it. He said, you know, a bit of sound quality was just a bit naff, but that can't help that. But yeah, he's going to get on at 8 o'clock record, and that should hopefully be out next week. And we're also talking about meeting up in the new year, going down to his studio, recording loads of YouTube videos, Spark versus Plumber. So yeah, could be good.
You're carrying a lot of weight on your shoulders with that, mate. Because if you don't beat him at every single thing, then you are a bad representative.
Cancelled. I'll cancel my YouTube channel. Right,
yeah, you are. You're cancelled. Brilliant. Marco, now you've had a big week. You've had the greatest mind in the electrical industry on, myself, and now definitely not. But Mark, you're having a lot of success with your YouTube channel, and I mean success, not success. Where can we find you? What's upcoming? What's new?
Apprentice 1-to-1 on Instagram for anybody who's looking for help with their apprenticeships. And like you've said, there's the YouTube channel. I've got 3 podcasts to record this week. One I'm quite nervous about. Wow. Gary Hayes. I'm
nice.
Kind of breaking it with that one because he's the Mount Everest of the education apprenticeship training thing. It's like, you know, I'm not quite sure what we're going to do on that one yet, but I'm looking forward to that, and a couple of other people coming on as well. So yeah, I'm just going to try and get these out as quick as possible as they come in, because people have been asking questions into Apprentice 1-to-1 that are getting answered in some of these podcasts. So where I was going to release them maybe one a week, I'm just going to put them out as they get recorded, and you know, if people get value from that, that's all the better.
Yeah, man.
Amykins. Have we done Amy?
We've done Amy, mate. She was first.
Sweet.
Sam, where can we find EGTE?
Well, you're watching it. But we've got the new podcast. It's called Short Circuit, and it's about your brain and short circuit in your brain rather than the electrical industry. We're going to be exploring all types of industry bods. Now, and it's not just about the industry and all about electrical. We're going to be talking about different trades. We're going to be talking about mentality, life, work balance, all that sort of stuff that goes on outside of CPD. So we're going to be talking about mindset when it comes to life and when it comes to work and stuff like that. Just generally chewing the fat with influencers that you may not have ever heard of. And that is Short Circuit.
Magic. Yes. And we'll put a link to all of it below at some point, yeah? If Sam can be bothered or remembers or even knows how to do it, yeah.
Knows how to do it. All right, EGTE, we're out.
Bye, Sam.
You idiot. All right, listen, I had